Alright, so in the past I've had quite a few requests for me to post my Arma 3 Ravage missions, and I don't know how to actually post these things in the proper way that lists all the mod dependencies and stuff. So I had someone earlier today, ask me or I suggested I should just do a tutorial to show you how I make these things. Now bear with me, I'm tired and I'm fresh out of the hospital and I'm kind of drugged up. But I'm gonna try and show you how I set mine up, and then I'll talk about some of the more detailed things later on. For now, I'm just gonna go to the editor and I'm gonna choose a terrain. I'll try and set one up that I'm actually gonna play. Now I have a ton of terrains. A lot of these I ported from Arma 2. And if you want to port one from Arma 2, it's really not that difficult. Let me show you. Now you just get the map file, and then in your Arma 3 folder, you just make a folder called then whatever the map name is. I just put zeros here to keep them in order. For instance, Schwemmlitz is a Arma 2 map. So I just put Schwemmlitz, and inside that you need to put a folder called add-ons. And then there, you just put all the files that the map came with, and these are Arma 2 files. Now not every Arma 2 map is going to work on Arma 3, but a lot of them do. So that's that. And of course there's a lot on the workshop, and there's a lot of Arma 3 maps. So let's see here. Pick a map that I actually will want to play. This one you have to find on a different website. You just Google it. Dnieper is, I don't think it's on Armaholic or the workshop. So, I'm just gonna try to choose one here. Something maybe I haven't done before. Now, I don't think I've used Lingor before. But I want to show one that's easy. So let's say just regular Schwemmlitz. Yeah. Now the newest version of the Ravage mod, there's some problems with it. The loot system's a little whack, so I would recommend not using the newest version. Now if you need an older version, there's probably some still out there you can find. If not, leave a comment and I can upload one of the older versions to Dropbox for anyone to download. The only thing about that is there's no compatibility for the Malden 2035 map. But anyways, so here we are in Schwemmlitz. Now some of these Arma 2 maps, they're going to require different mods for buildings, like Arma 2 buildings. I'll try and a lot of them will come with them. Sometimes you'll be missing buildings. There's a few mods I'll show later, I think, that will fix that. I think one of them is CAA1 is an important one, which you could be able to find on Armaholic. Okay, so getting into it. Basically, when I make these, I usually start by putting my survivor kind of in the edge of the map. So let's go here. Now if you have the Ravage mod, you should have I always use blue 4 just because I do. So I just choose survivor. Just place this guy here for now. And that'll be the starting point. Now comes the Ravage modules. So you go in here to systems. And if you have the Thirsk Arma 2 map, you can go to logic entities, Thirsk weather, and you can use the snow and fog. Now these will only work on single player. If you're hosting a local multiplayer so you can respawn, they won't work. Just saying. Now I usually these days I usually host it on just a local multiplayer server, of a private one, so that I can respawn. So let's say if I want to respawn, You go to markers, respawn. Just plain respawn. We'll put it out here. Now, depending on what side you are, west, east, or independent, you have to, under your variable name, in my case, I would put respawn underscore west. Now, if I die during the scenario, I will respawn here. But to do that, you got to go to Attributes, Multiplayer. Now, I usually set this up. Survival, this doesn't really matter, but I usually do 1, 2. Summary. Not really important. You want enable AI. So with respawn, you put respawn on custom position. And it shows you there. Okay, respawn gorilla. It shows you all the different variable names you need to give your respawn marker if you want to respawn. So I do custom position and I do spectator so that I can move around and see who killed me. And respawn delay, I usually just put it 1 minute. And you can do this stuff, but I don't. I don't do revive. So that's the respawn set. Okay, so now we go to the actual Ravage modules. Systems, under Ravage. There's a few I don't use, but you can use, I'll explain. So first you want ambient AI, if you want the bandits and stuff roaming around. Ambient zombies. You don't have to link these. Atmosphere. The debug module I don't use. I'm not exactly sure what it's for anyways. You want equipment pool. You want loot system. Now if you want radioactive zones, you can. I don't usually use them, but you can use them to, you know, put an extra element of danger. Safe zone. If you wanted to use safe zone, say if you wanted this town to be safe, you put this here. And then you'd set the radius, you know, let's say 350. And you put which side it's safe for. And yeah, that's supposed to be safe from raiders and from raiders and stuff. It doesn't always work though. The same with the zombie blacklist area. If you want to make a place to like set a base, you don't want zombies, put this down. And I put it to always. And you can set the, you want trigger repetition on, so it never turns off. And you can set the radius. And that will typically work. I've had instances where it doesn't work, but I don't usually use this. I don't like anywhere to be safe, but it is something you can do. Okay, so save system for me is kind of useless because I've never been able to make it so that I can save, exit, load back in, but I always put it. And you can put it on multiplayer persistency. I'm sure there's some way to fix this, I just don't know how. I always place it anyways. So settings you want. Survival system. And if you want ambient vehicles and vehicle wrecks to show up, you want vehicles. Okay, let me explain the zombie horde placement. Say you wanted a horde here in this town. You can select the types. Runners, walkers, both types. And then there's crawlers, and then the horde size. Now, depending on your computer, when I make a horde size, I usually set it like 50 or 75. And I don't typically use hordes because I kind of just use a general large amount of zombies. But you can use this to, you know, populate bigger areas with more zombies and make it more lethal if you want to. And you can put as many of those as you want anywhere. Okay, so let's start going through this. For ambient AI, population factor absolutely makes a difference of how much you're going to run across. Now, depending on how many different factions you're using, if you're using all three, I'd recommend keeping it at 1. I always have op4 raiders, and these are for AI that will actually hunt you. Now when I play, I put it at 0. Keep that at 0, and you can also have traders that you can use banknotes to buy stuff. I kind of find them useless because I usually just start with stuff or, loot stuff. But you can put traders, they'll show up. Now, blue for friendly forces, I don't typically have them on. I mean, if you have them on, that's good. They get into fights with the other guys, and you can actually recruit them to follow you. The only problem I have with them is they tend to kind of follow behind you, and then when there's zombies, they shoot you. They don't care where you are, so they kind of just shoot you. So I typically use none. Depending on the population factor, if I have it at 2, I'll only have 1, or 3. I'll usually only have 1 main hostile force. But if I have it at 1, I usually do independent op 4. And there's a way, I think, to make them shoot at each other also. Renegades I keep on, because they're kind of just wild cards. Car patrols, I've seen people have them work where the cars will actually move around, and it's usually a technical with like a heavy machine gun. But every time I seem to use them, they just kind of sit there and wait to kill you. So I typically do not use them. I don't usually mess with this stuff. So that's my kind of typical setup right there. So zombies. You can have runners, walkers, both types. Runners are a pain in the ass. I prefer to have all walkers. That's just me though. The bolters are the ones that are kind of rogue chance for them to be running. I typically use 0. Okay, so population limit. It depends on what kind of kit you're starting with. If you're starting with nothing, I'd recommend fewer. Default is 50, and that's a good amount. And there's not always going to be that many where you're going. If you're like me, like how I set mine up, I usually give myself some guns and ammo to start with. But it also really depends on your computer. Before I upgraded my computer, I would use 20. And if you don't want to get too chaotic, you can, go less than that. Lately, I use like 60, which is quite a bit. And if you put the global population limit up, there will just be more everywhere. So I actually, on my computer, a lot of this is going to depend on your system. You might have to mess with it. I put it at 1500. Sun factor, I don't usually do that because that means more come out at night, and you can do that, but I prefer it just to be the same all the time. Spawn radius, I don't typically mess with this. I don't usually mess with any of this. And you can set their uniforms and stuff like that, but I just leave them with their default. So this is kind of my general setup right here. And it's kind of a lot of zombies. I mean, I've used up to 90 before, and that was a little too much. Okay, going on. So you can do color filters, but I'm not sure how to set them. The ambient music is nice just for atmosphere, but I usually leave it off these days. Just preference. Dynamic weather I always turn on, unless I want a preset kind of atmosphere, especially if I'm just playing single player with snow. I keep that off. Breath fog simulation is good if you're in a winter map. It's a breath fog simulation. Sand gusts can be interesting if you're on a desert map. In general, I keep these off, and I'm in a woodland map here, so I'm going to keep both these off. Now the equipment pool. The preset will determine what kind of stuff shows up. Now since I don't like the Arma 3 content, I usually just set it to a generous preset. And these are the uniforms that will show up on survivors. I usually put it 66, so 2/3 of the time they're going to have military stuff, the other third of the time they're going to have civilian clothes. And I don't usually use this, but I believe that will give zombies some of the same gear too. Now since I have the complete RHS pack, and I love the RHS content, I always use all that. Same with Cup. Warfare Tie is a good mod. It adds a lot of guns and some equipment, so I usually use that. If you're into World War II stuff, which the only problem I have with this is if you use Iron Front, it kind of dominates the loot pool. So I'm gonna say no. Friths Ruin's a good mod for like a post-apocalyptic looking armor, but I don't typically use it. And I usually limit the actual Arma 3 vanilla content. So that's kind of my setup right there. So the loot system. I always set it so that it can spawn in any type of building. Now, depending on how lucky you want to get with the stuff you get, this is the default. However, the way I do it typically is I put vital items to 20. I put weapons to, say, we'll go 13. Ammo to, say, 18. Clothes, 10. Backpacks, 5. And I don't ever use this to spawn props. I always set this. I'm not sure if it's really important. And this will let you find stuff in, junk piles and stuff. But the truth is, it's kind of like the new loot system, and the fact that 90% of the time you don't find anything. So I don't use this. I like the actual boxes that spawn. I'm actually going to put vital items to 18 and ammo to 20. Vital items is, yeah, you can see that. So that's more or less the way I set that up. Save system, don't need to mess with that. Now this will deal with the enable holster function is good if you want to be able to put away your weapon. Sometimes I do it on accident and it kind of screws me up. This will help with performance. Stuff will disappear after a while. I don't usually use this. Now, time acceleration, obviously, 4 is kind of like the default. Things go a little faster, which is good if you want, unless you want it in real time. But I keep it at 4 typically. And the survival system. If you want to become hungrier and thirstier faster, you can put these up. Now, depending on how lucky you're going to get with loot, you might starve or die of thirst. But I usually keep it at 1. Sometimes I'll put it up to 2. It depends. It's just temperamental, depending on what kind of mission I'm making. And of course, you can do this, and you'll find Geiger counters and gas masks and anti-radiation drugs. Now, I don't usually use the radiation stuff. I don't want I've used them before, but I prefer just having a zombie apocalypse, not a nuclear war kind of scenario. So vehicles. This will, any vehicles you place on the map yourself can have damage. So I typically leave that off. And this will just, this will affect your performance if you turn it up. But, I'm going to put it to medium this time because I usually keep it at low. Intact vehicles, they'll usually be kind of damaged and really low on fuel. If you have it at 5, you're really not going to find them very much. What I typically do is 12. Just seems like a sweet spot for me. It means I have a chance of actually finding stuff. The burning wrecks, same. They're really cool for ambience, but they can affect your performance. But I'm going to put that up just a little. And also, this will affect your performance, but I'm going to keep that at default. This is kind of my way of doing things. So that is basically the essential modules right there. That is what will get your scenario going. So, let me save here. Actually, let me do a title. Ravage Schwemlitz, April 4th, 2018. Text: survive the zombie apocalypse in the Schwemlitz countryside. I'm just going to copy paste that over to the overview. Of course, you can put a picture. If for the loading screen. There's a way to do that, I just don't know. And you can affect all this stuff if you want, but I don't usually mess with it. Independence allegiance, I usually make them hostile, because I think that means they'll actually fight the bandits. But in any case, they're not going to be friendly to me. They're just going to be just bad guys. So, that's the general stuff. So now let me just save it real quick. I have a lot, or not as many as I used to. I use underscores just because it shows up cleaner when you're looking for it. So it's saved, and that's basically a scenario right there. Oh well, no, okay, never mind. Let me show you what I do with the kit usually. So you've got this guy. You can obviously start with nothing if you like to, but I don't like to do that. So what I do is I right click and I go to edit loadout. This might take a minute. Now I have a ton of mods on, and I'll try to explain which ones I'm using. And towards the end I'll show you my complete mod list to get you an idea of everything I have. I have this unsung kit mod thing on that I don't actually use because I have so much it takes it a minute for everything to load up. So just give it a minute. This virtual arsenal thing is a great way to kit yourself out. I love it. Okay, let's get rid of these goggles, please. And of course, once you're in the game, if you have the mission control center thing, the MCC mod, or just Zeus, I think you can change. You can change stuff out. Now, the best way to do is sort by mod on everything. It's going to be way easier to find stuff. And of course, I have Iron Front, and I have a mod called Geist, which adds just a ridiculous amount of World War II stuff, which I don't really use. So, oh, there is a respawn tent. So, the first thing I want to have, I don't know what all this is. I really don't. I want to have a watch. I want to have a compass. The radio is only essential if you want to recruit, like, friendly NPCs and stuff like that. GPS you can have if you want. I don't usually start with one. Gotta have a map. I mean, unless you like being lost, start with the map. Binoculars, not essential. Not essential, but obviously you can if you want. And you can start with MVGs if you want, but I typically don't, because I just bring flares usually. I don't usually start with any face wear because sometimes Ravage just won't give it to you, basically. You'll start without it. The first thing I start with is a uniform. So this is all vanilla and Apex stuff. I don't have Laws of War. And this is the VSM gear sets. There's a lot of different camos for them. Try not to take too long here. I have a lot of crap. And this is from RHS. This is a really good mod for... This is the Russian stuff. It's really good. And this is the other stuff. The whatever other factions they added. And of course the US stuff. This is the Warfare ExThai. Adds a bunch of stuff. But let's go down. This is more from RHS. And the African conflict mod. I also have the Chernarus conflict mod, which adds lots of stuff. And I also have the that's I can't remember. I think that's Chernarus. Then there's the Insurgent combat mod. A few things from Ravage. 10,000 things from Iron Front and Geist. Geist, you can see, is just ridiculous. They put way too much gear. I'm going to go down and show you what I typically use. Now, I think it's called Late's Op 4 pack, but it's also called Project Op 4. And they add a lot of just civilian stuff, but they also add some of the ones I really use are the M88's stuff. And let's find a good one for woodland. Woodland. Flectarn, how about that? The Trike uniform pack is a good one. The US military mod is also a very good one. I can't remember the exact name, but it adds like this stuff like this. It's a good mod. I use it a lot for the like the vests and stuff because it has really good carry weight. Okay, so we got that sorted. Let's go to vests. And not everything fits with this. Obviously, things from RHS will, or from some stuff, like vanilla stuff like the carrier rigs, will work. But let me go down. And the, RHS stuff will work. Gonna go down to some of this stuff I think works too. It's more, this stuff is more Arma 2 looking. Past Geist. And this stuff is the typical stuff that goes with this. Let's see, is there a Flectarn? Anyways, let me go down to the US military one. I usually use, a good one is the low bearing equipment rifleman. It doesn't quite fit right, but it carries a lot, which I like. And of course there's a lot of other mods you can use for this. This is like the Italian forces, VSM, Killox multinational pack has got a ton of good stuff. It's a good mod to have. Friths Ruin, that's the apocalyptic stuff. This is, I don't remember what. And this mod, it's a Russian, some sort of Russian forces pack, but I usually use a backpack from that, so let me show you. I'm sorry I'm taking so long with this, but I'm actually trying to set one up here. Now, of course, community upgrade project. There's lots of stuff. It doesn't always fit, but it's there. So I usually use, I'm going to have to find the name. This is the irregular warfare mod. I usually use, there's a backpack. Let's see, this one carries a lot. I'm going to have to find the name. It's a Russian forces mod. But I use it a lot. And then there's the Len thing. That's another kind of add-on for Iron Front. Alright, so headgear. You can kind of use just whatever you want here. For instance, I don't usually use a helmet. So I'll find just a cap or something. Like, where's that Russian cap or something? There we go. Just a cap, or a beanie. How about a beanie? Right, field cap olive. There we go. That look like a good old Soviet. So that's pretty much it. Now you want to go set up your gear. I'd start with the uniform. Well, I start with a handgun. Now, you can start with just a handgun or just a rifle or both. I usually start with both. These are all vanilla. Some of these are, as you can see, RH. The Robert Hammer weapon packs have really excellent guns. I would recommend getting all of them. And they're not compatible with Ravage in the sense that they'll spawn, but they're just really excellent guns. So I'm going to give myself These are cup guns. One of the most reliable you can use, that you'll actually find ammo for, is the M9 Beretta from RHS. The other Beretta, I think, is just as good. But I'm going to take the Beretta because it's the ammo I seem to find more regularly for it, actually. No launcher. As far as rifles go, you've got your regular assortment. This is from the Snipers pack, and the Apex. This must be the LA5 pack. I got some VSM guns. There's lots of cup guns, but they're kind of dated. They're not all bad. Just some of the animations are a little, and how they hold them are really weird. A few weapon packs I would really, really recommend, other than getting the RHS packs, is the NI Arms, which was formerly HLC. Now, there's a few guns in that. These are Robber Hammer weapons, and they're also very good. And if you have the compatibility mods that make ammo compatible between like Robber Hammer weapons and NI Arms and cup weapons, a lot of the weapons you can use a lot of different types of ammo from different mods in them, especially with like these AKs from my RHS. The hell, some of these are new, I haven't seen yet. ADR pack. Those P90s are actually pretty cool. And these are some ones from RHS also. Some US RHS ones. Typically the M16s you can find ammo for, and it's interchangeable if you have the compatibility mods, which you can find on the workshop, which I would highly recommend getting. Now, I mean, you can really kit yourself out however you want with whatever mods you got, but I'm just showing you what I do. Now, NI Arms is excellent, and the ACRs are a newer one. They're good. They're not bad. Some of my favorite are these Izmash AKs. So I'm actually going to take one. Let's see. Take a good old Warren AK. And these are pretty flexible with ammo. You can typically find a good amount of ammo for them. The AUGs are cool. FALs. E36s. You can see how many weapons they actually have. MG42s, MP5s. I really recommend NI Arms, all the weapons from them. And then there's the mass weapons pack, which I don't really use, but there's tons of weapons. There's no doubt about it. Ravage adds a few. Iron Front adds quite a few. Len, Geist. But I'm just going to use this AK for now. Wait a minute. Let me get a more powerful AK. Sorry if I'm fucking around here. Where's the AKM? Let's do the AKM. A little more power. So you can put your optics on, sorted by mod. I don't usually use optics. Depending on the gun, I'll use like a maybe an aim point or a red dot. Real attachments, can't use them on this one, but having a flashlight is a good thing. I can put a suppressor. Maybe I should do that. It's probably a good idea. I'll put a suppressor on it. Okay, so now that you have your weapons, you want to start on your uniform when you're kitting out. I usually take everything out, and you can see all the variations of the ammo that I can use with just this gun from different mods, just because I have the you can even use RPK mags. The thing I usually put in my first inventory, now you can't add food and water in here. You can add it in the arsenal, I think, once you're in the game, but adding it like this doesn't seem to work, even though it should. What I usually do is just give myself a few first aid kits, and then as many pistol mags as I can fit. Then you go to the vest and take everything out. So I'll give myself, let's see, that's 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll give myself 7 pistol mags. And I usually kind of give myself a lot of ammo because I kind of burn through it, but I'll get into resupply later. So then I'll give myself some AK mags. Let's see. Where's the... Guess I'll just use these. Put 8 in my vest. And I'll put 8 in my backpack. And I've got a lot of space. Now, the vanilla flares and stuff, chem lights are pretty useless. Smoke grenades is pretty much useless. You can give yourself hand grenades if you want. But Ravage should give you the red flares. These are very bright, very useful, especially if you're in the dark. So I'm going to give myself, 10 of them. But you'll go through them pretty quick, depending on if it's dark or not. So I want to leave some space so I can pick some stuff up, obviously. So in a nutshell, that's how I would kit out one of my people. Now you can do this however you want. Depends on your preference. So now this guy's all set up. I'm going to save. And I'm going to start the atmosphere here. I like to use full moon cycles, especially on Arma 2 maps, because you usually get a nice bright moonlit night, unlike Arma 3 maps. So one I know is December 99 on Saturday 18 will give me a nice bright night. And I'm going to start out. Let's see if this works. Maybe that's only the winter version. Alright, well, we'll start out in the early dawn. And this kind of doesn't matter how you start, because if you have dynamic weather on, it's going to change. So, yeah. We'll start in the early dawn, in the middle of the forest. So now, you have the option, if you want to place other things around the map. You know, let's say I want to, say I make it to Schlacht, or whatever this is up here. Let's go here. Now it's all good and well relying on finding vehicles, finding loot. But say you want, one thing I would do is at least put one vehicle on the map. So I'm going to go to, let's see, go civilian. Civilian cars. You want to make sure you place them without crew. And let's put just something. The birds and bees mod adds some really cool cars. Actually, let's give myself a let's go op 4. Russian, I guess it doesn't matter, VDV. Give myself a UAZ. And we'll drop it right here. Now when I do this, I don't usually leave them the way they are. Now if you want to, you could stash like a gun and some ammo in there, toolkit, something like that. Usually I'll just affect the fuel and the damage so that it's not perfect. I don't want to have a perfect vehicle, just for the sake of, it's the apocalypse. But you can do this however you want, and you can place helicopters around the map, anything you want. You can mark it with hold on a second, if this ever opens. Sometimes it takes a while to get into the inventory of these things. I know this tutorial's dragging on for a while, but there's quite a bit to it, and I'm still not done. So, yeah, I've probably been rambling a little bit, and I'm thirsty, so hold on. Okay. So usually I knock down the health armor a little, not so much that I'm not going to be able to drive it. Now most Arma 2 maps, the fuel stations, you can just drive up and fill up. Arma 3 is not the case. You'll have to find fuel cans and stuff. But I'll put it with limited fuel. Ammunition doesn't matter unless there's a turret on it. And of course you can select the skin. I'll put it a UN skin. And you can open doors, stuff like that. Equipment storage. It starts with 4 first aid kits. I'll leave 1. And I'll drop a pair of night vision goggles in here. Say PVS 14 something. typically I would put like the only problem with putting guns in here is you have to know which kind of ammo they have, and if you have a shitload, I'll just do this because it's easy. I'll put a Desert Eagle in here because I know the ammo type, and 50 AE, and I'll just put like 5 mags. Or you can put rifles, or you can put nothing. You put whatever you want in there. But now I know that there is a vehicle on the map. You can mark it however you want under markers. Markers, okay. But I'm just going to put a dot so I know there's something there. Now, another thing you can do it's kind of good if you are going to be striking out on loot, is put somewhere where you know that there's supplies. You know, or just place it randomly so that you don't know. But what I'm going to do, there's actually a well right there. And one thing I like to do is put either barrel fires or campfires sometimes. So I'm just going to put a burning campfire right here. But to do supplies, there's a few mods that add like containers and stuff that are really cool mods. PLP containers and stuff like that. Let's see what this is. Oh, that's too big. Let's see. PLP high set container blue. It's too big. Small blue. Alright, we'll put that. Now if you want to put a limited weapon cache, this is the way to do it. So I'll put a rifle in here. Let's say we put a... The problem is remembering which all these come from. I know the Colt carbine. Okay, you want to go to default, not virtual, my bad. Sorry for taking so long here. Actually, we'll put where's the I'm a little lost here, sorry. Well, you know what, we'll put a SLR in there. They take FAL rounds. They're not really good because the sights suck, but you know, I don't want to give myself a god weapon. So I'm gonna go down, find the FAL mags. This is the hard part, is remembering what kinds of ammo. That's why sometimes it's best just to drop a crate that has a ton of stuff. However, FAL mags, here they are. EPR 20 round FAL mag. Put 10 of them. So that's a real limited weapon crate. And you can set those up however you want, or put whatever you want in them. If you have the Ravage mod, obviously you'll have the survival thing. Basic supplies, there'll usually be some like cans of food and some dirty water, water purification tablets, some matches for starting fire, banknotes for starting fire, stuff like that. Repair tools, we'll usually have like fuel, cans, tires, toolkits, just, yeah. Survival gear is usually like can openers and just stuff like that. And this, if you have all this, you're pretty good. This will set you up nice. So the one other thing I'll show you that you can do, obviously, is go to ammo. And you can drop boxes loaded with all sorts of crap if you want to. So I'm going to put, since they're not the best, they're not too overpowered, I'm just going to drop an MP5 supply box. However, that will have a ton of MP5s, a ton of ammo, attachments, all sorts of stuff. Lots and lots of stuff. And if you have the RH stuff, Robber Hammer stuff is really good. The pistol ammo box has all the pistols and all the kinds of ammo. I don't want to overdo it. This is like kind of an OP spot right here. I mean, you don't have to do any of this. You don't have to place anything on the map if you don't want to. This is just kind of how I do it. So that I know that if I'm like in up shit creek, there's a place I can go where there's going to be stuff. So I'm going to mark this on the map with, let's just give it a square. So that's a real basic way of setting it up. And another thing I guess you could do is there's compositions. You can get compositions from like Community Upgrade Project and a few others. I believe you can find them on the workshop. And you could set up, it's an easy way to set up like camps. Let's say I want to put like, it's kind of hard to see, I know. Let me see if there's a light. Let me just change the time. It's a really cool thing to have. So you go to, okay, I'm trying to remember, props, and you'll have all these. And these are, let's say, let's put a medical okay, wait a minute. Medical small, medical outpost, field hospital. And you can see it's set up. You just plop it, and you got that. Now I usually get rid of the vehicles, but you can set all kinds of things, just all kinds of things. It's really a cool way to set up, make it look more like you know, there's an apocalypse and people were setting up emergency camps and stuff. Let me try check something else. Let's say crash sites, right? Even more apocalyptic. But I really recommend having those if you want to make your scenarios more intricate, because there's just a lot of stuff you can do, a lot. You can see some of the large outposts, and there's some really, really huge ones. It's a cool way to set yourself up a base if you want something like that. I'll just leave this stuff here. I'm not really sure what else to say at this point. I'll put a list in the video description explaining as many of the mods as I can that I used, but you get the general idea of how I set these things up. Now, one other thing you can do, just kind of for the hell of it, I mean, you can put objectives for like if you get somewhere and you make it to the place you escape and the mission actually ends, but I don't usually do that, only sometimes. Let's go to Systems, Scenario Flow, Scenario Name. Put this by you if you want your mission title to show up when you start. So name, Ravage, Schwemlitz, April 4th, 2018. And that'll just show up, just a little customization thing. Yeah. That's pretty much all I use. I mean, that's pretty much the way I do it. Sometimes I make it more intricate, sometimes I just set up the modules and my guy. And, so yeah. So you can play this, if you play this in single player, obviously if you die, it's over. Let me just, so, after it's saved, you want to export it to single player. You want to export it to multiplayer. So now I'm going to back out. I'm just going to show you how I boot it up on a local server. Server browser, host server, just no name, LAN, 1 password, host server. This is only for if you want to be able to continue if you die, which is kind of like how DayZ used to be, obviously. So, it shows me Schwemlitz. Here is my scenario, and I'll show you how it goes. And make sure when you're joining, you select to be the AI you placed. I hope I wasn't too confusing during this. If you guys have any more questions or anything like that, any comments, just anything you want to say in the comments, please leave one, and I'll do my best to answer it. And I'll also try to list down all the mods that I actually use, and some of the mods that I showed, I guess. And maybe I'll cut and I'll show you my actual mod list. But anyways, here we are. And we're here. And if I wanted to, I could get going. There's my respawn, so drop, supplies. This isn't the biggest map. I'll probably play this one some other time. I just want to show this for the tutorial. And this is an Arma 2 map, so it doesn't look excellent. But I still love it. Anyways, that's it for this tutorial. If there's anything else, just ask. And yeah, take care, guys. I hope this helped. Bye. Okay, so one more thing I forgot to add to the end of that. I thought I'd show you all my loaded workshop mods, and these are actually, probably some of these are from my actual Arma 3 thing also. But I'm just going to scroll through these. CBA is really important. Community upgrade project, oh, that's NI Arms. NI Arms, highly recommended. The community upgrade project terrains, the core, all the community upgrade project stuff I highly recommend. It'll let you play Arma 2 and even Arma 1 stuff. And this is more just NI Arms, different weapon packs, community upgrade project weapons, the actual maps. You need the core to have the maps work. This is one of the massive Russian packs, and then the mass vehicle pack. NI Arms, Iron Front Arma 3. This is the World War II thing. NI Arms, NI Arms. This is the community upgrade project units for the Arma 2 units. Also recommended. And this cup terrain CWA is for the Cold War assault. It helps the dependencies for Arma 2 maps, some of the older maps. World War II objects, not sure what I use from that, probably not much. Not sure what this is, but I figured I'd show it. African conflict is another one that adds tons of units and vehicles and weapons. Alive, I don't really use, but it's a lot of people do. Anyways, ASR AI is just changes the AI behavior. I really like it. I use it a lot. In fact, all the time. There's a few AI mods out there, but this is the one I use. And here's just a terrain. And this is a ported Arma 2 map. Valley of Vonron. Now there's Arma 2, I think, mod called BET add-ons that adds resources for some of the older Arma maps, static props, stuff like that. It's actually pretty important if you want to play with some of the older maps. These are all ported Arma 2 maps right here, which I ported. I showed you in the beginning of the video how to do that. It's not difficult. Some of them don't work, but most of them do. Joint rails, ASD or ASDG JR joint rails is really important for different weapon mod packs being able to use different optics and attachments. It's a really good mod to have. Generous Winter is probably an Arma 3 map, maybe not. JBAD Buildings is also another resource for lots of different building models that are essential for some of the older maps. Really recommend you get that. This is KillX Multinational Pack, which adds tons of uniforms and stuff like that. It's a really good old mod. L85 pack. MCC Sandbox is an awesome thing to make missions on the fly, and if you use it with Zeus, it's a lot of fun. You can do a lot of interesting things. I've got a playlist of Arma 3 missions where I use Zeus and MCC to make some pretty fun scenarios. So I'd recommend checking it out. It's also good for changing things on the fly in the game. Oh, more stuff. Ravage. Robert Hammer's weapons. One of the packs. I recommend you get them all. You can find them on Armaholic. Dnieper. I don't remember where I got this. I just Googled it. It came from some clan or someone's website, but it's a really cool terrain. TFA. This is just a gear set. Same with this Turkish army. Weapons and wares. Most of this stuff you should be able to find in the workshop. Wintertown's a cool little map. More NI arms. These GOS maps, you can find them on the workshop. They're really good. There's a lot of them, they're really good. Every RHS. Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. There's Serbian Armed Forces. Whatever. Just anything RHS, I recommend you get. The Len weapon packs and stuff are for Arma 3, or Iron Front. Just add-ons. Same with Geist. If you like using that World War II stuff, I recommend getting them. Warfare ExThai. This is a mod that's compatible with Ravage, that adds gear, guns. I'd recommend getting the main one and the one that's RHS Joint Rails compatible. Friths Ruin also could work with Ravage for those apocalyptic gear. This is just a UK gear unit set. Same with this. US SOCOM vehicles, UK Special Forces vehicles, Russian GRU vehicles, and the official ADR weapon pack is just the P90s. Italian Special Operations Force pack. Irregular Warfare pack adds lots of gear. It's a cool mod. Trikes, the uniforms are a good one. The ShackTac user interface I use just because I like the HUD that it gives and the stamina bar that it gives, and ShackTac's the shit. So, and this one, it's another mass Russians thing, or mass weapons pack. Just adds a lot of guns. Middle Eastern Warfare, Altis Guerrilla Warfare, and Terrorist Conflict all add a lot of different units, gear, vehicles, and stuff like that. I recommend them. Project OPFOR, also known as, I think, Elite's OPFOR pack. Elite, not like elite, like Elite, like LEIGT. This is a really good mod. Adds lots of really good gear. I use it a lot. The US military mod, Delta Hawks. This is the one that adds the really nice US gear. Another highly recommended mod. And Cup vehicles, JBAD's another building. You can see, if you can see the picture, adds a bunch of different building models that are essential sometimes. EM buildings, same thing. Adds just more buildings you can place or that some maps require. Just a bunch of different maps here. Lots of different maps. Iron Front, these are the terrains, add some more terrains for Iron Front. Birds and the Bees adds muscle cars and stuff, like 77 Roadrunners and stuff. It's actually compatible with Ravage, so they'll show up. I recommend it. They're really cool cars. At the custom buildings, I have it. I'm not sure how much it's used, but I probably would recommend getting it. Florida Keys, this is a newer map. I still haven't actually checked out all of it. I made a video on it, but I didn't get very far. Some of these don't work. Some female ones for some reason. The VSM stuff adds lots of cool uniforms and gear. I recommend them. And then I have a bunch of mods that I just don't have on because they don't work or they're not compatible. But that's pretty much a rundown of that. And yeah, I hope you got something out of that. So now I'll end the video. So take care, guys. And remember, if you have any more questions, to just drop them in the comments section. So take care.